Welcome to First Impressions. I'm Spencer. This week we're talking about salamanders, secrets, and students. Don't make me say that again.
I am Belinda, and I'm drinking Brigham 36 rum in, I don't know, honor,
In your
but
mouth?
like dishonor of my ancestry, the Brigham Young.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Will.
Yeah. So what are you drinking today, Kevin?
Yeah. Today we're drinking rum. We've done a rum cocktail a little bit ago.
Yeah, the winter cocktail.
That's right. Our previous rum cocktail wasn't really a classic cocktail. Usually when you think of rum, you think mojito, or you think Cuba Libre, or you think which, by the way, a Cuba Libre is just Coke and rum, maybe a squeeze of lime. So the winter cocktail is definitely not a classic cocktail, and the cocktail today we are doing is also not a classic. So we'll have to get to the classics one of these times. But
We did do an old fashioned. That's classic.
yeah, but that wasn't rum. Yes. I'm just saying the rum ones.
Oh, the classic rum. So gotcha.
Yeah. Today I am using silver rum, a clear rum, made by Sugar House Distillery here in Utah. So props to them. What are you drinking, Spencer? Which rum?
I'm using Ray and Nephew. I don't have the bottle here with me, but that's it's a Jamaican rum. I love it. It's overproof, so it fucks you up real fast.
Yeah, we like that. Yeah.
It's got the funk, right, Kevin?
It's got that funk.
It's got that Jamaican funk. That Jamaican funk.
Won't you take me to that funky rum? Yeah.
Yes.
No, I love Ray and Nephew. What about you, Belinda? What are you drinking?
I think it's dented. What is this? I don't even know where it's from.
This is the Brigham. Is it Brigham rum?
It's the Brigham rum for my notorious ancestors.
Brigham rum. I love that.
Yeah, Brigham rum.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, we're gonna get into him and his associates a little later. But
I'm drinking.
Will, what about you?
The Antelope Island.
Yeah. Which I actually saw is distilled by Dented Brick, which I
okay.
I like the Antelope Island rum a lot better than I like their kind of standard Dented Brick rum.
Really? Yeah. See, we were talking a little bit before the show, but I haven't really gotten into like different types of rums, where they come from, flavor profiles, things like that. I think everyone, well, not everyone, it's almost a rite of passage as an ex-Mormon or a new drinker to try the Kraken. That's a rum, right?
Of course.
That
spiced rum, yeah.
Spice, release the Kraken. So I've had spiced rum, dark rum, and then as far as light or white rum, silver, I guess, just Ray and Nephew and Dented Brick, I think. Oh, Bacardi, of course.
Bacardi's and here in Utah, we don't generally have I feel like I say this every week because I do. We don't generally have a good selection of insert liquor here, but rum, that applies to. We have a lot of Bacardis, a lot of variety of Bacardi.
Yeah.
And depending on the liquor store you go to, you might get a little more. But I'm happy to see now that we're getting more and more local distilleries here in Utah. The options are becoming a little better.
I feel like Malibu is a staple here.
True.
Malibu coconut rum. Yeah. The thing about rum, the thing I love about rum, and I think I did mention this a little bit in our last rum episode, it's thought of as this kind of American classic alcohol, which it is. But we don't really know where it was started, where it was invented, but likely in Barbados. And Barbados certainly claims that they are the inventors of rum, but we don't really have any historical documentation to be able to prove that. But certainly the Caribbean is kind of where it got its start. And the really cool thing is it was basically created using a waste product, something that was literally just being tossed into the sea or the garbage. They probably didn't really have garbage cans back then, but
The street.
but yeah, they would just toss it. They were making sugarcane based products to be able to ship off and making a shit ton of money, by the way.
Now, would they have
colonizers
used
were, by the way,
would they have used the mash or the molasses?
yeah, it's the molasses basically, which was the byproduct of making the sugarcane syrup. And they were just tossing that stuff, and then some smart person was like, wait a minute, this, there's not as much sugar content in this, but there's enough to naturally bring the yeast in and let it start doing its thing to ferment. And then we got rum. And, obviously back then, the rum did not taste delicious in any way, shape, or form from all accounts that we can tell. It was made in a crude pot still with, literal garbage that was being thrown away. But it got the job done, and that's what mattered. So I'm not going to bore everyone with the long history of rum because
Fun fact, though, I grew up next to a sugarcane field, and when the harvest was ready to, be reaped or whatever, they would light it on fire.
Yeah.
Really?
So the whole field, yes, the whole field would be ablaze. So they do that to take care of. I think it was to preserve the sugar cane, but also it got rid of like snakes and other critters that might be in the field. So then they would just go harvest after.
Go in immediately and harvest.
Yeah, but they would just.
That's got to be quite the sight
Oh, it
to
was
see,
incredible.
right?
It was
the
incredible.
whole thing on fire.
The whole field, incredible.
The only reason I know a little bit about that is from the classic 80s movie North Shore, which I'm certain none of you have probably seen. And when I say classic, I mean classic to me and my brother. Is a really, really poorly done in terms of acting and writing surfing movie. But one night they were sneaking into the sugar fields and they were lighting them on fire. And I never knew why they were lighting them on fire until you just said that.
Yeah, it's incredible to see.
That's why Rick from North Shore was in a fire. Yeah.
And the smell in the air is just like this rich caramelized sugar smell.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to even explain.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, the colonizers initially tried planting a lot of tobacco in the Caribbean, or Caribbean as it might be, however you like to say it.
Caribbean.
And tobacco did not grow especially well there. And that also reminds me, there are kind of two styles of rum, kind of the British style and then the French style, because those were the colonizers there in the Caribbean. So before I get too deep down the historical rabbit hole, there's a wide variety of rum out there, not so much in Utah, but I encourage you to, any of our listeners or any of you, to read or watch YouTube videos or do some things. So if you happen to be in a place where there is more variety, you can make some informed decisions. I will say very briefly, and this is a generic statement. It doesn't always hold true, but often the difference between the dark and the light rums is just barrel aging. Again, it doesn't always hold true, but often the older rums will be darker. Now, when we're talking things like Kraken, which is like almost a black color, right? It's like very dark. I think that's probably artificial coloring and whatnot. But for a lot of rums, the aging, the length of time spent in barrels is what lends its color, which holds true for most spirits. But.
Okay.
What's in our drink?
So today in our podcast, we're going to be talking about some interesting things.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, and
always is.
and like a lot of what we've talked about in all of our episodes so far is tied to politics and what's going on kind of in the United States here. We're going to get a little closer to home today. We're going to stick right around Utah for a lot of what we talk about. So we decided to come up with a couple versions of a cocktail name that was suggested to us. called the White Salamander.
Shout out to Claire for the suggestion, actually.
There we go.
Yep.
Nice. So so let's get started. So Spencer and I both came up with, well, we started with a recipe that was a white cocktail because we were
Right.
like, white cocktail, like what do we make? Is it vodka on the rocks or what?
And this will all make sense in a minute about the white
It
cocktail.
will. Yeah.
So we're
If-
making a
and-
white cocktail today, but
if
it all
you-
makes
if you-
sense.
If you haven't already said, if you haven't already realized what we're talking about and why we called it the White Salamander, hold on to your hats. We'll be there momentarily. But for my cocktail, I'll run it through it really quick, and then Spencer can run through his. I've got 1.5 ounces of the silver rum, 1 ounce of coconut water, just out of a can. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about coconut water, so I'm not sure it matters which brand you use. And then I made a coconut water syrup using equal parts coconut water and sugar, but I also threw in a cinnamon stick and some cloves because I was making mine a little more tropical and just wanted to add some of those spices that you often get in tiki drinks or whatnot. So I made that simple syrup. So 1 ounce of that simple syrup, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, and 1/2 ounce of pineapple juice. And then the most important ingredient, 2 drops of Mormon tears.
Yes.
That's what truly accentuates the whiteness of the cocktail. So yeah, that's what I have here.
So oh, go ahead.
So I've actually already put the ingredients in my shaker. I haven't put ice in or anything yet. And while I shake mine up, Spencer's already shaken his, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
talk about his. Yeah.
I was gonna say instead of Mormon tears, I filled mine with lies instead of lime juice. So
I
figured-
nice.
I figured it'd be a nice
Mormon tears and lies.
and
That's
lies.
actually very fitting.
Yeah, yeah.
And by the way, when I say Mormon tears, it is a real ingredient. I just mean salt or some saline. But you know,
You mean I had to?
those Mormon tears are.
I had to
something.
go make my parents cry for nothing.
Oh, I hope you didn't.
Oh.
Oh,
Sunday
you didn't
dinner must have been
pinch
fun
them too.
today.
love you, mom and dad.
So
All
for
right,
mine, I used 1 ounce of coconut milk syrup. So what I did is I got coconut milk. You can buy it in a can for about $1. And then I combined that with some simple syrup and a couple drops of coconut extract. Added a little coconut water to dilute, about 1/2 ounce. If you want, you can add, if you like a sweet cocktail, you can add even more simple syrup. I did about 3/4 ounce of lime juice. And then depending on how fucked up you want to get, 1 to 2 ounces of rum. So I made one for Kevin as a test earlier, and I think I poured a little heavy for him.
It was very delicious, very delicious. And
So yeah, and then just shake that up in your Boston shaker. You can do a wet shake or dry shake first and then wet. I did it both ways. It didn't make a big difference for me. And then you can garnish that with a lime peel or a mint leaf if you'd like.
Fun. My syrup I made with coconut water and sugar, and then just a tiny little droplet of rose water and some nutmeg. And it was pretty good. I haven't tried this drink yet, so I heard lots of mixed reviews from you guys when you were testing this. So I don't know how it's.
I mean, it was refreshing. It was refreshing, but I wanted the coconut to just punch me in the face. So
Right.
that's why I went all in.
I actually like the idea of the coconut milk syrup. That's something we've made before. Super, super delicious. So
For Kevin, for the recipe that you're using, how much rum did you say?
1.5 ounces.
1.5 ounces.
Now I made a double because I like a double. Plus, I decided to put mine in a tall glass here.
that's cute.
Garnish with a little. It's not holding up very well, but a little pineapple leaf and lime. And then I've got my nice green tiki straw here.
Very fun.
So there you go. A glass full of white and delightsome saltiness.
So yeah, this one comes out nice and creamy.
Oh, that's
Oh.
beautiful.
His
I
is
love that.
His is
Wow.
not mixed. It's pure white. Yeah,
It's pure white and delightsome. Very intense
delightsome.
though.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
How's that coconut flavor coming through?
Really good. Turns out lime works very well with coconut.
Yeah,
Put
It was
Put
like
the lime into coconut.
Exactly.
You know the song, right?
that's true.
So,
that's
Will,
true.
are you doing Belinda's recipe?
So what I'm doing
Or are you
is
just making some shit up?
I'm kind of making some shit up, honestly.
Okay, it's all good.
Perfect.
I'm trying to follow Kevin's, but I was too hungover this morning to actually make the coconut syrup. So I'm just sticking in with just simple syrup. I'm gonna put some coconut, some lime, some rum, and hopefully it doesn't taste bad.
Sure it won't. Was last night when we were talking really late or the
No,
night
that was
before?
Friday. That was
Oh,
Friday.
okay.
It definitely went into yesterday, but
Technically,
That's
yeah.
true.
Technically,
Yes.
technically.
That was
No,
like
Belinda kept on jumping in.
that's true. But we would all talk, and then Belinda would leave for an hour, and then come back and be like, "Oh, you guys are still here," multiple
Yeah.
times. Yeah. To be fair, she had her children there, and they needed some attention. So,
Well, for context
Yeah.
for our listeners, we do a
Children.
little pre-show call during the week, kind of talk. I was too tired. I was just like, I cannot do this. Anyhow, these other three stayed up till what, 3 a.m. I
It was
heard.
like 2 in the morning, something. It was
yeah,
ridiculous.
It was like 5 hour
5-hour chat.
It was hilarious. Yeah.
It
We
was fun.
recorded parts of it, so we'll have to see if we can clip some of that and send it to.
Yeah, it was
Something.
intense. We were all over.
It was an event.
Yeah, this is a good cocktail. I would describe it as medium thick.
Yeah. Medium thick for sure.
All girls like that medium thick drink.
How's yours?
No, I actually really like it.
Good.
No, it's good. It's got the perfect amount of coconut. Kevin said that he has pineapple in his, and I'm not a big pina colada person, so I have pineapple here. Didn't add it,
It
but
doesn't
I like
really
it the way it
taste
is.
like a pina colada, but yeah,
Doesn't it? Yeah.
it's a half ounce of pineapple.
Right.
So. The main reason I added the pineapple was actually for the foam. We talked about that in the last
In
episode.
Pisco,
Yeah, you can use egg whites to create a foam on top of your cocktail, or pineapple or
Bean
bean
juice
juice. Yeah,
from
Juice.
garbanzo beans.
yeah.
So
Do I serve this on ice or is it not an ice?
You can do what you want. Will.
All right.
like Kevin said last show, he feels like, what was it? A father
A
Or-
proud papa. Yeah.
watching their child grow
Big
up.
Papa. Big Papa.
Putting
Yeah, follow
grand-
your heart.
Big
Will.
Papa.
Putting
that's right.
Grand Marnier in margaritas.
Exactly. Well, I see what he has. He has Cointreau, but yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we are making
Someday-
white salamanders. We just made this up. We'll post all the recipes and variations, but more importantly, there was a premiere of a docu-series. True crime. What is it?
Like
Yeah.
a docu series. Yeah.
3 episodes, about 3. So 3
Yeah,
hours.
related
total, right?
to Mormonism. So I don't feel equipped to tell the full story, but I'll try and summarize a little bit. So a long time ago, in a state far, far away or close to home, there was a man named Mark Hoffman. And Mark Hoffman, who happens to be in jail now, which is interesting for the rest of his life.
And by the way, the time period we're talking about, he was a young man. He was like in his 20s.
And this was in the
Like,
80s,
yeah.
right? Like 83,
Yeah.
85, when
Yeah.
the shit went down. Anyhow, he grew up here in Utah and had a very interesting life, colorful life, you might say, at least as far as circumventing legal processes and trying to figure out creative ways. And I will say he is hella fucking creative, but finding creative ways to forge things and to create realities and present things in a way that were almost believable, and people went along with it. So
I don't think we've said the name of the docuseries yet. So for
oh,
those
that's right.
Who haven't watched it yet? What's it called again?
Murder Among the Mormons.
Oh, that's right.
Murder Among the Mormons. So yes,
Murder.
yes.
It didn't start out murderous, but it got to that point, right?
Yeah, it did get to that point. And
In the first
man,
episode,
there's so much to talk about. I don't know if it would be good, but
I know.
the short version of this, and then we'll get into each of these phases, is Mark Hoffman began forging things, a variety of documents that related to the Mormon church, but also
historical in nature, right?
Yeah, historical documents. So he would present a piece of paper that looked like it was written by these historical figures. People would analyze and decide that, yeah, this is authentic, and pay him shit tons of money for these documents. So he saw an opportunity to present these documents to the LDS Church. That's the Mormon Church here in Utah, and they went along with it. One of the documents purported to be a Salamander Letter, which is where the name of the drink comes from, where Joseph Smith, who is the founder of Mormonism, essentially, admitted that a salamander led him to the plates. Is that correct? To the golden plates?
So the real origin story of the Mormon Church is that Joseph Smith was visited by an angel who told him where the gold plates were. Well, in that Salamander Letter, he says it wasn't an angel; it was like a spirit in the form of a white salamander that crawled around and showed him where the golden plates were. And the golden plates became the scripture that Mormonism is,
And
founded on.
honestly, it's just a cooler story.
I
Way
agree.
better.
It is a
Way
cooler
better.
story. So
Chasing lizards through the forest.
so
right?
the Mormon Church believes this. I wasn't sure in the documentary if they said they actually paid him for that letter specifically, and if it was on the order of 300,000 or something like that.
So the Salamander Letter, one of the people that was interviewed bought it.
I think it was the
bought
guy
it and then donated it to the church.
that's the guy who
So-
died, Steve Christensen.
What's unclear is whether or not the Mormon Church paid him to be the intermediary, or there's a lot that's unclear in terms of the docuseries. There's a lot that's unclear about the church and its role. That is fascinating, and there a lot of speculation could be made about those things.
Right.
And by speculation, I mean it's definitely fucking true, and the Mormon Church hid it. But
So yes, people in the story died. There were pipe bombs that took the life of was 2 people here in the valley.
People.
I'm doing a terrible job telling the story, but 2 people died. Mark Hoffman was implicated, and then incarcerated. Right. So
that all happened after he put it. It's unclear whether it was on purpose or it was accidental, but a bomb went off in his car.
and the bomb did hurt.
It hurt
Hoffman.
him, but it didn't kill him.
Yeah.
And there's speculation. People think it went off accidentally. I'm more of the camp that I think he probably, based on how they described the other bombs, this bomb was not nearly as powerful or big. There's no way he could have survived if it was the equivalent of 2 sticks of dynamite in a tiny little Toyota MR2. In my opinion, I'm not a bomb expert or a salamander expert, so I don't know for sure, but it seems pretty clear based on what the police and the prosecutor from the case in the docuseries were saying. If that bomb had been like the other bombs, there's no way his car would have been mostly intact. And I think what happened is he knew they were catching on, and by they I mean probably the Mormon Church, probably the authorities, and I think he had overpromised and was about to underdeliver on his next forgery situation that he was trying to sell to the church for like $300,000 or $400,000, something like that, which is probably the equivalent today of almost $1 million, right? And so miraculously, the thing he was supposed to deliver that he had to sell to the Mormon Church was blown up and burnt in the bombing. So it just it just happened to kind of save his ass that the bomb went off in his car.
So I guess that's
definitely need a spoiler alert on this episode, right?
That's the gist.
Extreme spoiler
that's
alert.
the gist of the story, but I was not super familiar with this incident. Having grown up in the Mormon Church, it's not something that's talked about.
You're
much,
young though.
For good reason.
I mean, I would have been 3 or 4 at the time.
I was 13,
right.
I think. So
yeah, I was 5, and so this is something we kind of knew was a thing growing up. Didn't know much about it. The documentary was very enlightening. And I think little is said about it if you're LDS because it has to do with documents that the church found incriminating to their theology, and so they tried to cover them up. And that's the whole gist of why we didn't really hear a lot about it growing up. they're like, oh yes, somebody died, this bad man, this murder, and he's a terrible person. He's like a
course.
sociopath, a terrible, awful person. Not
Well,
to
he's
glamorize
still
him.
alive though.
You're talking
He
about
is.
Gordon B. Hinckley, right?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Yes,
I know
know.
everyone loves GBH, but sorry.
You don't know everything
No.
about people, right? So
What I was going to say is there were a lot of much beloved Mormon figures in the documentary
yep.
who didn't come off as kind and gentle and squeaky clean as their Mormon persona would imply.
Right.
Pay and cover-ups and who knows what else, right?
I mean, so first I guess he was pretty sneaky. He dealt in authentic documents as well as a cover for like these fraudulent things that he was making. And some of the things he made like kind of supported the authenticity of the Book of Mormon at first. So they were all excited to buy these documents. They're like, oh my goodness. So the first thing he sold to the church was, or not sold to the church, suggested, I don't know, this intermediary purchased this document and gave it to the church, the Charles Anthon letter, right? And it was this letter that had all these characters. And if you don't know what the Book of Mormon is, the Book of Mormon is supposedly translated from Reformed Egyptian characters on plates of gold that were found in a mountainside by a little boy
in upstate New York.
In New York. And so it had these like mysterious characters all over this page, and a weird little seal, and then a signature on the back and a statement from Joseph Smith saying they were copied from the gold plates by his own hand. And so everybody who was Mormon at the time was just losing their minds. They were so excited. It was published all over, published in all the church magazines. And, it was a big deal back then. And then he starts, sending other things in that like kind of, challenge the authenticity of the Book of Mormon.
So just a side note, I believe, and I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but there was a big push in the history of the Mormon Church at this time to create archaeological or like factual historical ties to support the narrative of the history. So archaeological tours and expeditions to South and Central America to try and verify that yes, the Book of Mormon is true, or trying to create connections, finding history pieces. There's a big church history push. So it was like the perfect storm of activity, right? And interest. And I think Hoffman was able to capitalize on that. So back to you, Belinda.
No, I mean, so my dad as a historian, and a lot of the people in the documentary are friends of my father. And so I was watching, I was like, oh, I know these people. Heavens.
Like legit.
Yeah, almost every single person.
You've met these people.
Like they hang out.
My mind is being melted right now.
So they're all kind of part of this elite historians club in Utah, and they all chill together,
Do they all wear three-piece suits with gold chains?
Yes, gold chains. Oh my, and bow ties.
Fucking Shelley just
Shannon Flynn. Yeah.
Or Shannon, not Shelley. Yeah.
Some name like that. So I'm watching this and I'm like, I know these people, for heaven's sakes. And it was great to see. And so I started like thinking about this, like, I wonder how much my dad knew about the situation at that time. And I wondered if he felt like he was a target even like at that point, like, because at the time the murdery part was going on, people didn't know what was happening. People were just dying and there were bombs going off. Let's probably head back to that part. So like, Mark Hoffman producing all these documents, right? And he was promising all these other exciting things he had up and coming. And one was, what was the name of the McClellan collection, right?
McClellan collection.
And it was this supposed collection of papers, journals.
5 journals, yeah.
All these things. And he was making them all. He was handwriting all of this by himself and making up the contents of every letter and journal entry. And it's an insane amount of creative work, right?
He's truly an evil genius, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the dude was talented and creative, like Spencer said, but
yeah,
obviously a sociopath, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's wild. And so one day, one of his people that he was dealing with, that Steve Christensen guy, was just blown up, right? At his office building.
Right? Yeah. Downtown
Uh-huh.
Salt Lake.
Yeah. And then later that same day, excuse me, another woman was murdered by a pipe bomb as well. And this woman was my mother's Sunday school teacher when she was a
What?
child. Yeah. And I
Oh
remember
my
my mom
God.
mentioning that when I was younger.
And that one was in a suburb, right? Like Holiday, Utah.
Yeah, I was out in Holiday, like a very upscale neighborhood on the east side of the Salt Lake Valley, in Salt Lake County. And so
the
people,
target wasn't her, right? It was her
no,
husband.
it was loosely her husband, right, Kevin? He mentioned he didn't really care who picked up the pipe bomb. It was a scare tactic. It was a diversion.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What a fucking sociopath.
No, he literally
Yes.
says in the show, and again, spoilers. Sorry if you haven't watched it. I will say, just the tip with Kevin right here. Just the tip. This is 3 hours, so it's not extensively long.
No.
It is not action packed. There are moments that are fun and exciting, but
Yeah.
I will say, because I've mentioned to a few people, oh, you should watch this. It's not like watching a movie. It's not even like watching an amazing documentary. It's, it's a little dry in parts. We're talking about
Yeah.
fucking white middle-aged Mormon historians.
Yeah, it's like some bookstore owners and historians. They're just chatting about like what went on, and given like it's fascinating. Yeah.
But not action packed. Yeah.
No. So it's pretty wild. And so he murdered these two people. The prosecutor and the detective are both awesome characters in the story. I thought, like, I can't remember what's the prosecutor's name. He was awesome. Delia or something. And then the other guy with the funny name.
You guys are just gonna have to watch. I'm so terrible with names.
No,
Same.
No, the prosecutor guy. I want to hang out with that dude and drink whiskey.
Right?
Like
He
the
seems
dude
super
who was
cool.
a college dropout, but then
ended up
to
skiing. Yeah.
And then I assume he went back to school, or he faked his degree or whatever. I don't know, because he's a prosecutor. But no, he seemed really cool. So if you listen, whatever your name is with the cool handlebar mustache back in the 80s, let's hang out. I've got a nice bottle of whiskey. We can
better yet, come on the show and then we'll all hang out.
Ooh.
There we
That'd be
go.
rad.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did end up going. Oh, what, Kevin?
No, I was literally just going to segue to what I think you're about to say. So.
Oh no! So I went to my parents' house the other day, and I was nervous about bringing after watching,
oh my God.
and I wanted to ask my dad. I wanted to say, what were you thinking at the time? So I casually brought up that we had watched this, movie, and I watched it with my son before we went there. And so my son was really excited to, hear my dad's side of the story.
Because you're like, these are grandpa's buddies.
Right. And he's like, my dad had not seen it. I don't know if he ever will, but
I don't think they have Netflix either.
No,
so,
no.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll force
they
them
have
to
chill,
watch
but
it or
no
something.
Netflix. Just kidding.
Right.
Definitely.
Or
chill.
neither. I don't know.
We shall not speak of such things. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just imagine my parents don't chill anymore, and that gives me peace.
Oh.
It gives me peace.
Spencer,
in my
they have
life.
pills. They have pills nowadays.
We do not speak of such things.
4 hours or more. By the way, if it's after 4 hours, you should go to the hospital.
Okay.
4 hours.
Priapism. All
Tell,
right, Belinda, go for
tell
it.
your dad. No, so I mentioned that
We're only
my
one
son and I
drink
had
in,
watched
everyone.
it. I'm only half a drink in. Let me
I'm a
finish this.
double in.
Oh my God.
Will, have you watched it yet?
I have. I watched. I'm waiting till I can tell my conspiracy theory about it.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
Well, pipe
okay.
in with it when we get to that part,
Yeah.
because I want to hear what you have to say about it. No, so I brought up, I said, hey, all your friends like Kurt Bench and Brent Ashworth and Ken Sanders, and like I'm listing off all these people that he knows extremely well. He's like, really? Oh, I was like, Al Rust, all these people that I've grown up knowing. And he's like, yeah. He's like, oh, let me get some information for you. And he runs downstairs and brings back this book full of documents that was given to him by Brent Ashworth. Fascinating stuff. Just refer to the photos. I was like taking photographing pages out of this. Like I'm sitting at their house.
So he's sitting
And I
there
think-
and like taking you through memory lane.
Yeah, for reals. And I think they thought I was like kind of making a hero out of Mark Hoffman, which I was not. But after watching it and you see the skill level that this dude had from an early age, you're like, dang, this is really, really amazing that he was able to pull this off.
Again, a sociopath, but
Right.
Oh,
evil
absolutely.
genius, right?
Yes.
No, so like I can't, maybe I'll send the pictures to the thing because it's hard to like show them, but like he would like take actual scriptures and documents
Ooh.
and he would make copious notes throughout.
This is
and
Yeah,
Hoffman.
if you're okay, Belinda, we can include those in show notes. But if not,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine.
Absolutely we can share them. It's public knowledge really. But he would take note of like how things were phrased and how, order of, information. Like he was just really, really detail oriented.
He took that morning scripture study to the next level, right?
Oh
That
God.
30
He was
minutes
Really?
a day.
A
of
sterling
the Book of
scholar in
Mormon.
seminary. Or
Yes,
whatever they
yes.
call him.
Sterling
Deseret
scholar.
News endorsed.
Platinum
yeah.
scriptorian.
Wait.
No.
Is Deseret News one of our sponsors yet? We should really look at
We're working on it.
Yeah. No, this is one of my favorite things. And it's several of the people from the show. You can't see it because it's going to be backwards, but it's like, we'll put it in the thing, but it's like Shannon Flynn, who's a favorite of
This
mine
is
from the
fucking
documentary.
wild.
Shannon Uzi.
Shannon's the one who
Flynn,
talks
yeah.
like this.
Shannon.
Shannon!
Him
He's
and
the
his Uzi.
godfather of the Mormon historians.
You can't ask me that question.
That's perfect, actually.
So good.
Ask me that.
It says truth will prevail, and it has the signatures of Shannon Flynn, Mark Hoffman, and underneath it says by my left hand, and then Brent Metcalf, and another signature who the end of it is a salamander. Their
Salamander.
signature. And they had all signed this. It looks like letterhead from a bookstore or something.
Wait, but
Truth will
this-
prevail.
Why
This
does
is
it
after the
say-
bombings.
Yeah, why
This
does
is
it
during
say
the
with
trial,
my
I
left
think.
hand?
Because he got blown up by his bomb. Oh, we didn't mention that part.
No, was it the bomb or in the documentary
tried
they
to kill
mentioned that
himself.
he tried to kill himself with sleeping
Th-
pills and
I
then
think
he
both.
fell asleep
Sleeping?
on his arm, which cut off
Yeah.
circulation, so he couldn't use his right arm to.
That was much later.
Okay.
This is like right after the
the
bomb.
bombing.
So
Oh, so
yeah.
he's
don't know-
injured and couldn't. Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So
That
it
makes
blew
sense.
off his fingertips and whatnot. But in the other pipe bombs, he had strapped nails to those things and it, like just shrapnel everywhere. I don't think those were on his.
No,
be honest
because
with
he
you.
wasn't trying to kill himself. Yeah.
Right. And I wonder if maybe he just at the last moment decided, hey, you know what? Let's just blow this shit to smithereens, right? Like,
So we're obviously not detailed historians here, but I think there's
No.
there's a lot of interesting.
Speak for yourself, Spencer.
Okay,
Speak
I'm
for
not
yourself.
a detailed historian,
Alright.
but there's a lot of interesting things watching this that came to mind. First thing
Yeah.
that came to mind for me was holy fucking shit, this happened. Like straight up, this happened. The other
Yeah.
was and we can talk about each of these sequentially, or
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll touch on them at different points, but the comparisons between Mark Hoffman and the founder of Mormonism, Joseph Smith, incredibly
Indeed.
brilliant, charismatic
Absolutely.
in their own way. Like Mark
Mhm.
seems to have been a very odd person, but had the ability to convince others of his story, his narrative, whatever, and get
Yeah.
buy-in. Okay. And then just the ability to deceive. And this I think, Kevin, you mentioned maybe even sociopathic, where even as he was describing, so there was an interview after he was caught, and he said, "How do you feel about your kids? They're not
that
gonna."
made me sad.
And he's like, "Well, I guess it's harder for them than it is for me." And I'm like, "Holy shit, dude!
Yeah. He
Like,
didn't give a
do
shit.
you have no heart? Like, it's just
Right.
crazy.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
There was that one quote of his where the interviewer's asking like do you feel bad about killing those people? And he had said something, I'm fucking up this quote, he was said something like, well, like we're just so insignificant, so
He's like, they're not suffering.
Yeah,
they're fine.
like there's just a couple people died. It's no big deal. You know, like
Yeah.
that's fucking sociopathic. Holy
It
shit.
is.
And then
It
you
is.
had all these characters and people, and I mean, there's just so many odd parts of Utah as a part of the story. The news reporter who's singing the
Oh
song
my God.
Utah,
Oh my god.
Utah. I
Oh
didn't even
my
know that. I didn't even
God.
know there was a fucking Utah song. I was
Fucking
like,
Rod
holy shit, this
Decker.
is awesome.
Rod
Rod
Decker.
Rod Decker,
KUTV.
KUTV. I was like, holy shit, man, how cool would it be to live in Utah in those times?
I
actually think-
did.
But when Mormons were super fucking weird and not shy about it and could pull shit like that, and then you had the dude who was like, I commanded him to live, and I was like, what
Oh
the
my
fuck?
god.
Or I
Oh
commanded him
my
not to die.
god.
We got to talk about that.
Oh,
one.
we need to talk about this.
Oh my god!
Okay.
But probably the most impactful quote of the movie, and this conversation will probably go long. I'm just gonna let you guys know.
Yeah.
If you're listening, this is gonna probably be a long talk.
This is longer
Maybe we
than your
can break it
commute.
up into a couple little bite-sized portions, right?
We'll see. If something seems to be true and becomes accepted as true, it becomes true. And that was
Yeah.
that's the gist of his experience and story. He created things that seemed plausible enough. He had the skill, right? He created what's the word? Reputation for unearthing historically relevant stuff, and even fooled the prophet of God on earth.
Oh my
Like,
god.
that's a whole other thing too, because
And
Right.
the
we're
FBI.
part of Mormonism, and there was a quote in there about the faithful response is that God doesn't force people to do this or that. I'm like, bullshit. Here's the thing: you've got a direct bat phone to Sky Daddy. You better fucking use that.
Sky-
Like, there are so many inconsistencies in logic.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Well,
these-
inconsistencies in what they teach and then what they
Exactly.
pronounce in
So, for those who
movie.
don't know, Mormons purport to have a prophet who is a man on earth who literally talks to God. Okay. They might say
in the
he doesn't
holy of
literally-
holies.
Exactly. So there's a special room in the big church, the temple, where this man can talk with God and Jesus.
Yeah.
They won't say that, but they have said it. in the
No, they
past,
say
right?
it. They say
They've
it.
said it in
They-
the past.
yeah.
Well, not so much today. Today they've kind of, distanced themselves from the
Well,
Yeah.
they don't
absolute
say
rhetoric.
shit nowadays.
Now they
to be
don't say
honest.
it.
True.
They say
But-
PR shit.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. A few
And
of us
they're
are
terrible at
a
that
few of us are
part.
parents on the show, right? We love our kids.
Right.
If I send my kids off and I'm like, good luck, don't fucking talk to me. That's kind of weird. Like, it's cold. Like, why would you do that? It's like, what's the
Yeah.
lesson here? It's like, this makes no sense. But that's the analog for how Mormons see God.
Hev-
God sent
Heavenly F-
us to this planet, Earth, while he lives on his planet. And he's
Cool.
like, don't fucking talk to me. If there's a problem, I can't even.
I mean, sometimes I feel
like-
like that, but
Wait,
just-
does
sorry,
Elohim
I
live
can't
on
even.
Kolob?
He
I think-
lives in-
I
he
think that's
lives near-
Jesus's. I think that's Jesus's.
Either way,
It's also
whatever.
near
I'm
Kolob.
just saying,
Oh, that's true. That's
God
true.
lives on a
Near
planet, according to Mormons. He has a person on Earth you can talk to.
And all the
But-
ladies.
If there is a situation where literally this person is being deceived, he's not going to talk to you. He's going to good luck. Good
Wasn't-
luck with that. It's
don't
weird.
let gay people get married.
It's weird.
I'm gonna tell you this.
It's so
much.
fucking weird.
Don't let gay people get married, but with bombs and shit. you're on your
Anyhow,
own.
so
Yeah.
that for me, that's the spectrum of thoughts.
Yeah.
Minus a few minor things here and there that I had watching this. Just unbelievable.
Well, wasn't Dallin H. Oaks, wasn't he like supportive of the Salamander Letter? Like he was going on TV like saying
Yes.
like
and Hinckley and James E. Faust, who was a leader at the time, was saying, "Oh, this authenticates
Yeah,
the Book of Mormon."
none
And
of the
this was in
Salamander
support
Letter.
of the other documents, but
Yeah, the
the
first
fact
one,
is
yeah.
you have this mastermind human who's immensely creative, talented, skilled, who is able to deceive the literal human on earth who talks to Sky Daddy. Like, that is
Right.
crazy to me.
And
Why?
that's you had kind of this
Because they
this rumble
don't.
through the church, right? At that time, that they were like, "Oh, what's happening here? We've have this document now that's kind of breaking our faith." And you had a lot of people starting to
How-
fall away from the church.
how is that any different though? then all the different stories about how Jesus or how Joseph Smith met God and Jesus. Like,
Well, they didn't know that for a long time.
right, but like
So-
now the church fully admits that there are several very different versions of what is that called? The
first vision.
The first vision, yeah. Like, why doesn't that freak the fuck out of people?
It does.
It does.
It does. And here's what I'm going to tell you. This is what I'm going to tell you. Oh, fuck. Oh yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, and sorry. No, I'm just.
Is that what you're going to tell us?
No, what? Oh fuck. What I was going to tell you is that the interwebs was not a thing in 1985.
Right.
And so the church, yeah, there were rumblings. That's an accurate way you described it, because locally, especially here in the Utah area, and it was a bit of a national story. I mean, when you have pipe bombings and things like that, that makes the national news. In the documentary, I think you can hear Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw at varying times talking about things, who were national news figures. But it dies down quickly. And when you are a member of an organization that teaches you only to listen to members of that organization, and not only just members of that organization, but the highest members of that organization, the top 15, if you will, guess what? And you don't have the internet, guess what happens? It goes away. It just, that's why we all grew up in. Exactly. Oh my God. That guy made it entirely worth it to watch the boring ass parts of that. Like that scene where they're driving their fucking little Toyota sports car, MR2 through the West Desert in Utah, holding the Uzi like out. By the way, this is partially directed. It's co-directed rather by Jared Hess.
I actually met Jared. He recorded my "I'm a Mormon" video with me, but maybe
fuck, I forgot.
We'll save that for another time.
Whoa!
But we need to get Jared on the.
So what's up, Jared? That's probably doable.
But that would be incredible. But if you're familiar with the film, a little film he is known for called Napoleon Dynamite. I totally saw Napoleon Dynamite in that scene when they were. I didn't see Napoleon himself.
He did Gentleman Broncos as well. If you're familiar with that, it's very weird.
Yeah, he's quirky and he's interesting and he's funny. And I wish they would have done more of that. I get it's a historical documentary, so you have to include like the drier aspects of it. Right. But that scene alone was worth everything. I kept rewinding, or not rewinding. It's not a VHS, but I kept going back and rewatching that scene over and over, and I laughed out loud every single goddamn time. I think I even videoed it with my phone and sent it to you all when I was watching it, because I was like, this is incredible.
No. My favorite scene was and I commanded him to live. Like,
dude, we need to go to that.
Yeah, that dude, like the way he was being interviewed was like he was a first responder, right? Like I got to the scene and I saw that he was hurt, and I pulled out my consecrated oil and I gave him a blessing and I commanded him to live.
So give us some context, Will. What is this oil of which you speak?
It's, you know what, Kevin will do a better job. Like, it's a magical.
I use that shit a lot. Yeah.
All right. I will.
I went through like a Costco-sized bottle of that.
I'm being coy. So in Mormonism, the men in the church have powers of magic, and this magical power is tied to
what's it called? What's that power called?
The priesthood. So it's tied to how little you masturbate. But
that's 100% true.
You can
it is
use this special oil that you say a prayer on to.
I like that you said that while Belinda's doing the hand motions for her cocktail.
Work
exactly. If you're not watching the video of this, please go to YouTube.
Please
right
do.
Now
Belinda is a treat. So you bless this oil with the prayer, and then you rub it on someone, and you can do things. Okay, that sounds terrible, but I mean,
that's lubricant. Yeah, that's how lubricants work.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
God's lubricant.
You can heal people. But on a serious note,
you put it in your hair, you grease up your hair with that.
But on a serious
it
note,
fucks up your hair. Yeah.
And to be the balance here. A lot of people put a lot of faith in this, right? And they believe in it. And
Absolutely,
they
yeah.
believe that it maybe not. I don't think it's a thing so much in modern Mormonism as it was for me growing up. Have you noticed
Well,
that?
by
It's
modern
not really a
Mormonism,
thing.
you mean right now?
But yo, Kevin,
No,
when was the last
I
time? I know we've been out of the whole cult thing for a long time, but did you ever use it? I used it only on my mission. After my mission, I didn't fucking touch that stuff.
I
You didn't
used it.
hold it on your keychain?
I used it
Yeah.
almost weekly when I was in the bishopric.
Oh,
Um,
Oh,
that's
that's
right.
true.
But
Yeah.
so
for
so
me,
for
as a
5 years,
normal, quote unquote normal, I never made it into leadership because I'm black, but I never used it.
it got silent all of a sudden, and we're
It's
all like,
true. It's
"Yeah,
fucking true. I have so
that's
many.
fucking true."
I have so
Yeah.
many stories of racism in the church. That needs to be its own
Oh,
thing.
I'm sure you do.
Like,
Let's
Yes,
do
we
that.
need to have that
I could
episode.
talk for hours about
Absolutely.
it, but I never used it. I guess my point is the church now is changing, and it used to be a thing. Now I'm gonna
Right.
throw it back to Will. Dude says, "I command you not to die" on fucking TV on the evening news. This is why I wish I lived in Utah at the time. Can you imagine
I've
watching?
got the holy condiment. I've got the holy condiment right here on my keychain.
Heavenly lube.
Will, what did he
God.
do with the magic lube?
Can you imagine watching KUTV or KSL or ABC4, whatever? And someone's all like, "I command."
I wish that had been on national
Yeah.
news. That would have been fucking amazing.
I
Or even like-
command you to live.
What?
I just imagine, like, what if it wasn't a Mormonism? What if it was like a Scientologist?
Or a Satanist.
Like no, like a Scientologist, he's like being interviewed and they're like, oh, and then I said a blessing, hoped that Xenu would come and come down from her
Drop some
spaceship
bombs.
and they would heal this person, and they ended up happening. Like, how is that any different? Like some crazy ass shit. It's no different whatsoever.
Yeah.
However, I will say, I think maybe blessings and that sort of stuff can be helpful. I do.
They can be helpful in the sense that it puts you in a frame of mind that is optimistic, but
Right.
as far as like actual measurable results, I can't speak to that personally, but
Right.
being
The
optimistic
consecrated,
certainly can help.
So,
yeah, the consecrated oil is not going to magically cure you.
but let's
But
be
but like the intentions behind it and getting like people in the mindset of healing and that sort of thing, I could see how that could actually help you.
Sure. Absolutely.
so but let's be clear, the data in this could actually help you side of things. So generally when you do a pharmaceutical study, what happens is you give some people the medicine and you give some people what's called a placebo, right?
Yep.
It's all fucking placebo in this study. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. We know scientifically it's been proven the placebo effect is a thing, right?
Right.
You can believe you have something that's going to help you, and then it magically, and by
Not-
magically, I mean your body and your fucking mind tell your body to heal itself or whatever.
Did you just knock over
Not
your
only that, but
My
you
elbow
break
hurts
something?
now. That was my elbow. I broke.
Fucking
That was
Elliot.
the shattering of my elbow.
so not only that, but religion tends to benefit, or at least from my observation, from my position, seems to benefit from this confirmation bias where
right.
anything good is from God and it's holy and it's right and it's like good, and then anything bad happens, it's like, no, it's not him. No.
Well, the guy did that. If you think back to, he said, I commanded him to live and that the first responders would arrive quickly, which they did.
No,
And he
maybe
said
they
it
were
all
doing their
intensely.
job that they've been trained and paid for.
Maybe it's because they were like 2 blocks away.
Yeah,
And someone called
maybe they're just
911
really
when a
fucking good at their
fucking
job.
pipe bomb went off. Yeah, like Jesus
Oh
Christ.
my God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
The whole story of like Mark Hoffman, like I imagine maybe Joseph Smith was probably very similar of a person, right?
I mean,
I
think
think
about
so.
the story he tells in the documentary about burying coins when he's out with his friends,
Yes,
right?
As a
And,
teenage boy, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making this show of finding this jar of coins, and all the kids are dazzled by this,
Yeah.
discovery, right?
I mean,
Like,
he
if
wasn't.
Joseph-
It doesn't seem that he was diagnosed, or at least it wasn't put forward. But he seems to.
His
have
parents
been
were
a
freak-
narcissist in some ways, in the sense that he
Yeah.
thrived
Yeah.
on this validation that came from the quality of his work, and he was content and happy with deceiving people.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, he was adept at creating forgeries from a very early age, right?
Like 11?
And
Is that what?
yeah, so like at 12, he was doing those what is it, the
Paint like
testy
the
thing?
coins, the
No, well, that was later, but like the lie detector test.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he
yeah,
became
yeah.
a
oh
master
right.
of lie detector tests at the age of like 12 or 13.
Oh
Then he
gosh.
was forging coins. I don't know how, like it showed him with some sort of soldering iron or something. So I spoke to somebody on Friday who is a
Belinda
friend
knows
of one of his
everyone apparently.
daughters.
Yeah, apparently.
I know all the people.
Wait.
Belinda
Anyway,
is
this
Say,
the
person,
say
daughter
that
of
again,
Utah
Belinda. You
Finest.
spoke to one of his daughters.
no, I spoke to somebody who is a friend of one of his children, and I asked if she had seen it. I asked the person if they'd seen it because as soon as I got to work on Friday, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just watched the most insane show. Have you seen it?" And the one girl's like, "Oh, I do need to see it," because she's all into the crimey things, you know.
Yeah.
But the other girl's like, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to watch it because I'm friends with one of his kids and I don't want something to slip out accidentally and be upsetting to them." And I was like, that makes sense. I can get behind that, you know. And, you know, it's probably a lot of dirt being dug up right now for their whole family. It's probably
Sure.
a little upsetting, I can imagine. And so she mentioned that he has forged coins that are on display at Pioneer Village in Lagoon. So if you're not from Utah, Lagoon is our amusement park, the one amusement park we have in Utah. Besides,
It's a big
like,
one.
oh
It's a big
no,
one.
Trafalgar isn't there anymore. So
No,
yeah, it's the
it's
one amusement park
One
in
clean
Utah.
fun. Minus the beer.
Good,
Go
clean
ahead.
fun. And they have like a little pioneer village. And in that pioneer village, they have authentic pioneer money on display. And much of those pieces were created by Mark Hoffman.
So if
So
y'all are
much of
listening
that
and you,
display, yeah.
if y'all are listening, you don't realize how weird Utah is and Mormons. Mormons invented their own currency. They invented their,
Their
own
own
language,
alphabet,
their own
yeah.
alphabet, their own language.
Alphabet, yeah. Yeah.
The Deseret
Wait,
alphabet.
what?
Google that shit. You had no idea, Will?
Well,
No.
Oh my! No,
Did
you
Will,
see that-
Will, stop fucking with me.
The
Are you
language
serious
of
right
Deseret.
now?
Mormons created their own alphabet.
Oh, yeah. It's like this
yeah.
weird phonetic alphabet. Spencer, do you remember a few years ago, like some type designer made a whole typeface of this?
Yeah, I think that was my friend.
And it was
but go
really
ahead.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Really? I thought it was
Yeah.
really cool.
Wait, was it still like English? Like it was still ABC?
No.
I think it was my friend
Yeah.
Andrew that did that, but I don't know.
Really?
I'll
It was
ask
super
him.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really bizarre, it was supposed to be a phonetic alphabet, and they taught it to the children in school. Like if you go
There
to
was a Book
Pioneer
of
Trail
Mormon in the
State
Deseret
Park.
alphabet.
Yeah,
No.
all kinds of things. Their money was written in Deseret alphabet. Yeah, so they had it was a really bizarre time. I can't even imagine trying to learn that shit. Like, you know,
Do you
after
know
I'm like
what?
living in the fucking desert and
We should learn to write our names in the Deseret alphabet and maybe
Good.
create some sort of
Yes.
special
Yes.
code.
yeah. Or first impressions. Don't ask me about it again, but I think it's a really great idea.
I was
Don't ask
off.
me that question.
I was unplugged for a second. Did anybody mention
We talked
the
about the condiments mostly while you were gone.
Oh, okay. You
The
didn't talk
oil.
about the like gay tension between Mark
Oh
and
no,
Shannon.
we did not. We
No,
did not.
speak on that.
I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out here. But if you watch that show, Shannon and Mark were tight.
Yeah.
And there's like this
we
photo
all
of
are at
them.
first.
Shannon's the one with the
This-
voice, right?
Yeah.
He is. The one that Mark bought him the Uzi, right? And they like just hung out all the time.
to hang out. Wasn't a big
Just
deal.
like to
And-
hang out and shoot Uzis from MR2.
And he's also the one that went with him to New York where he like drank a shit ton of alcohol and pretended he wasn't drunk and then barfed himself green, he said. But there's a
Oh, God.
photo of the two shown on screen where they're kind of like
They
posing.
look like Joe Exotic and his husband.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you know the photo she's talking about? It's like they're like both in white Mormon-y sacrament shirts.
Yeah, there's
And,
some,
like,
you
kind
know,
of
looks going on.
leaning.
I've only seen the
Neck-
series
maybe a
once, so
necklace
I'm
like
gonna have to
mine
watch
here.
it again.
I've seen it 3 times now, but
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so like there's some little gay tension there. I don't know. I'm just throwing. I don't know.
I think Tiger Bites are in order, and I've got to watch it one more time at least.
Tiger bites. Tiger bite
Taika bites
Um,
and some Sacramento wine.
yeah.
Elliot. Okay,
Elliot.
so Will, you mentioned you had some conspiracy shit.
All right, so my conspiracy on this is, what if Mark Hoffman didn't forge any documents? And what if it's all true? Like, and the reason why, like, he started killing people and shit, and he admitted to it and all.
Was
What
guilt or
what if the prophet got to him and was like, hey, you need to lay on the sword. Like, we can't have this. You have to actually say that you made all of this up, and that's why he did what he did. And it was actually like the Mormon mafia or something that did the bombs.
What you're saying is why all the experts were saying these were not forgeries is because they were not forgeries.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then he made up some like plausible, like he planted evidence to make it look like he forged it, and he came up with all this processes of how he did forge it.
Where
I
did
don't-
you learn all the chemistry of all this shit?
I
That's
don't
what I want
think
to know.
I don't
Right.
think your idea is implausible. Here's why. I I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do know the Mormon Church has immense resources, and they
True.
are
Yep.
invested in protecting the narrative
Yep.
and
Just saying.
the marketing around the Mormon Church. So the question in my mind is, what if? And I go, maybe because
It's
they
not
do have the
implausible
resources.
at
It's
all.
not impossible.
No.
Yeah.
So my dad did talk with the detective who supposedly like broke that case. What was his name in the document? I can't remember. The bald dude that looked exactly the same in 1985 as he does now, with a mustache, right?
Detective so and such.
Yeah, with a funny name.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's breaking stuff. It's like crashes all over in his.
I told you one
Um,
drink in and we are fucked up.
I'm
No,
two drinks in.
So the guy talked about how, and it demonstrates this a little bit in the documentary about how he would age documents, and supposedly like how they discovered they were forgeries was this cracked ink, right?
Right.
And my dad talked to this detective as well, and he said another thing that happened when he tried to age these documents is he would write them out, and it shows him in the documentary hanging them up by paper clips, right? And then spraying them.
Clothespins. Yeah.
Clothespins.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So he's hanging up with clothespins on a line to let them dry and age or whatever. Well, the ink wasn't fully dry on the pen work when he would hang them up. And so there was kind of like this dip at the base of each letter where it would kind of sag down from like the ink dripping down a little bit at the base of each letter. So who knows? I don't know.
Maybe that's
Guess
what
we'll
they
never
want you to
know.
think, Belinda.
Oh.
I mean, it did say in there that he was Mormon and he wanted another detective with him to, investigate that was not Mormon, and found another like who said he was non-practicing Catholic to help him out with it. And they were, pretty committed, right, to finding out what was going on.
But to Will's point, what if a forged document was planted in order to replicate a real document or be just another document in order? Again, I don't buy.
Sure.
Well, actually, I do buy into some.
I of course, like most conspiracies that I talk about, I don't actually believe it.
Sure.
But it's interesting to think about, because
I think it's healthy to like consider even.
Absolutely.
yeah,
You don't
well,
have. I say that
Yeah.
with some risk because at the same time, there's the whole QAnon thing. And it's like I can consider it and go, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But at least I'm willing to go, what if?
Yeah.
I think because of course the Mormon Church, like it's known that they have like a fucking vault where they put in all like the historical documents That's where
Sure.
like the seer stone is, and
We've all driven by it, right?
Yeah.
yep. They obviously, maybe not obviously, they for sure have to have some documents that they keep hidden that are very bad
Oh.
for the church.
For sure, for sure. And when I was a kid and like preteen and teenager, my dad would take me with him to do research at the church office, like the church archives. And I would be left to my own devices while he was like in the special collections or whatnot, like looking at, rare documents, whatever. And they just had like bins of old like magazines and pamphlets and things. And I would be there and I would pull things out of little things. They said the most absurd shit. Like, I kid you not. Like, I would be like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember taking my cousin there and I push her in a wheelchair and we're like looking through things and like giggling our guts out, like in the church
lost 10
archives.
tribes being encased in ice in the North Pole or something.
So
Oh,
it's like,
Yeah, I've heard
it was
that.
what
weird.
is
like,
that? I've never heard that before.
Okay,
either.
okay, we'll table that, Will, for an obscure Mormon doctrine episode.
We need to be taking
Mormon
notes,
conspiracy
Yes.
theories.
It's like, what's
episode,
the weirdest shit in Mormonism you've heard? And we'll
Yes,
just
I
talk.
love
We'll
that.
each talk about one thing.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that'll be a fun
yes.
one. Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
But yeah, he was doing all this stuff really young. He was like, it was bizarre. So in the end, it says that he wasn't able to create his masterpiece, right? Like he wasn't able. And what was his masterpiece?
The 116 lost pages,
Lost pages
of the Book of Mormon. Yeah, the Book of Lehi.
The Book of Lehi.
I'm telling you guys, he should have just been a Mormon fan fiction writer. Like
Yes,
he would have been so successful.
Like the guy who wrote Tennis Shoes Among the Nephites.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Chris
What was
Throwing it back,
Heimerdinger?
throwing it back for you.
Humdinger. What was his name?
Heimerdinger. Chris
I remember-
Heimerdinger. I remember I read those books.
Existed.
Yeah.
Will is like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
No, I know what Tennis Shoes Among
Oh,
the
okay.
family would like listen to it when we go on road trips. That's
Audio
Yes.
shit.
listen to.
Yeah.
The Rainbow Room. Do you remember the Rainbow Room?
No, what is that?
Well, that was part of the book.
I
They went to
never
the
read
Rainbow
that.
Room
I
to
never
travel
read
back
that.
in time.
Right.
Is that like a subtle reference to him being in the closet and not being able to come
Oh,
out of the closet? Because
Oh.
that is the perfect segue to some shit that went down this week.
Oh, right. The
Yes.
other news
Yeah.
in
At
amongst the
BYU.
Mormons.
Yeah.
Brigham
Murder
Young University.
and bigotry among
Yeah.
the
It was a beautiful day, actually. I discovered
It was.
I try to find people from Utah to follow on Twitter,
Yeah.
but it's always you can't find people to follow on Twitter.
Mitt Romney's on there. If you
He
didn't know.
is.
On Twitter, most people are Kevin.
By the way,
I'm on Twitter.
ThirstPod at
ThirstPod
ThirstPod
is
on
on
Twitter.
Twitter.
That's
We are all on Twitter, yeah.
ThirstPod.
Follow ThirstPod.
But it was really great to see because I discovered like queer Utah Twitter, like
Yeah.
where all like the LGBTQ plus people, like they were posting all day long about just like their selfies, them like just in Provo. It was beautiful to see. And then to top off the night with making the Y a rainbow.
Take a step back. Let's take a
Amazing.
step back.
Amazing.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I actually posted
The origin, right?
I posted a flyer in a like kind of a meme group for ex-Mormons,
Yeah.
if you will, that I'm a member of, several days before this. And it was essentially a flyer that was put all over Brigham Young University's campus in Provo, Utah, depicting how do I put this into words?
It was
that
like
can
people,
understand?
rainbow people, and an umbrella over them.
Not rainbow people. It was rainbow rain.
Oh,
Rainbow Rain. And there was a family. It was like a woman and a man and two children in between.
Oh,
A
God.
nuclear family.
They had an umbrella.
The atomic family.
The atomic family. Oh, Spencer's not going to know that inside joke. No one is, but just the three of us. But the umbrella that was protecting this atomic family from the queer rain that was raining down on them. Rain on
Queer rain.
me.
I wish more rain were
but,
queer.
Yeah, exactly. But was the what the fuck is that bullshit called again?
Family proclamation.
Proclamation on the family. Yeah.
What is the family
Um,
proclamation?
So the LDS Church
Proclamation
back
to the
in
world.
Proclamation to the
Was
world
it
on
1990,
the family.
1994, something like that?
No,
Yeah.
I feel like it was more like 2000-ish.
No, it was when I was like a teen, I think.
Consult the Book of Knowledge. Let's go to
Google.
The Googles. I actually quoted that the other night in our 5-hour call, and Will and Belinda thought I had memorized it, but I was just reading.
I know, I was
was
horrified.
good.
I was like,
But it's a bullshit document that, by the way, once it was
1995. I was
researched,
one
holy
year off.
shit, it's that old.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what,
Um,
30, almost 30 years old.
But what it was at the time Hawaii was looking
23 years old.
20. I can't even do it. 23 years. Oh,
you do
God.
it perfectly.
So when Spencer was 23 years old, Hawaii was looking to allow gay marriage, and it was going on in the courts, and the LDS Church, because they are so fucking terrified of anything that is not 100% their ideal person, which is not an ideal person, by the way. They hired lawyers, or actually they own a law firm. So the church owns a law firm, yeah. And they had the law firm write up a statement to make to basically back their claims that homosexuality is against God. And just even saying this out loud makes me like
It
what
makes
the
you
fuck?
uncomfortable when you say this because
Yeah.
we
Like,
all used to
what-
be like, oh yeah, sure.
like they have lawyers write up a legal document to explain why God hates gay people. Like, it's the stupidest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah.
So they did that, but then rather than like present it in some legal fashion, what they did is they gave a proclamation to the world on the family.
A
And it's some-
proclamation meaning like the mouthpiece of God himself.
from God,
The
from
bat
God
phone.
This
through
is
the
from
attorneys,
God.
from
Through the
God
attorneys.
through the attorneys. Yeah,
Side note,
because
through the
God
attorneys.
speaks to attorneys.
And
yeah.
the PR arm. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, attorneys PR than the prophet.
Correlation, yes.
Correlation, yes, that's how it works. But this proclamation basically said, if you are anything other than a straight
Cisgendered
gendered
society.
Heterosexual
white
relationship. Yeah.
white say white, but it was implied, right? It's always kind of implied.
It's always there.
With the Mormon church, yes.
Yeah. Man and woman who come together through the union of marriage.
No, they don't
Then-
usually come together in Mormonism. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Belinda wins the day.
Yes. Yeah.
Love it.
Remember,
But-
it's not for pleasure, it's just for procreation.
It's for procreation. It's to make fucking babies because God needs help. He
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah. Anyway,
He fucking does.
so yeah, there's this document, and it's this piece of trash bullshit document that was then, Deseret Industry. No, what are they called? Deseret Book, and
Yes.
all the other
Ensign.
things.
I
Could have
guess-
been
I
Desert
guess
Industries.
Everyone.
a simple way to put
Everyone
it
needs
is
a copy of the proclamation on the family in their family room.
Hanging
needs
on
to
their
follow
wall.
this. A
It's
simple way to
ugliest-
put this would be that when the prophet of the Mormon church says something, it becomes what's called scripture, which is meant to say
Scripture.
this
The
is
word of God.
the word of Sky Daddy. And you must follow it.
Unless they're talking as a man.
Conveniently so, but that's a
But then
whole
it's
other
not
thing.
scripture,
That's a
yeah.
whole other
But
thing.
no,
I'm just saying.
This was
So
referred
everyone in
to-
the church was given marching orders to say "fuck you" to gay people.
Yes.
Yep.
That's the gist of it.
Essentially.
100%. Yeah.
And that's what that flyer was all about. Like one of the quote on the right of the flyer was like, show your support for the family proclamation by like carrying an umbrella,
Carrying a fucking umbrella.
or wear BYU swag. So like they're co-opting. I know BYU itself. We'll get into this, but like they realize that people are going to be wearing BYU swag. Like So people that
Yep,
just
yep.
regular, like they don't hate gay people. They
I didn't see that
Because
part.
it's BYU campus.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
they all of a sudden, by using that pamphlet, they've weaponized every single person on the BYU campus to make gay people feel unwelcomed.
Yep.
Yep.
It was disgusting.
But to Will's point, what actually happened on the day of, and by the way, the day that was being celebrated, that this flyer was in response
Yeah.
to, is because BYU as a campus has an honor code, they call it. And I remember I went to BYU, and when I went to BYU, in my mind, the honor code meant I don't cheat on tests, and
They have to shave.
I am kind to people.
And you have to shave.
and you had to shave, which at the time wasn't a big deal because
But I got a beard waiver.
I would have had like 3 hairs.
You
on my
did?
chin.
Really?
I had a beard.
Nice.
Nice.
You had to go to a doctor just like in order to get weed now in Utah. But back then, and
to
even
wear
now,
a beard.
and even now, if you're in Provo on campus, you have to go to a doctor and get a special. It's a card, right? Don't they give
It's
you
like a literal
fucking
Well,
certificate kind of
not
thing?
really. They just flip a switch on your ID and you're good to go.
Okay. Well, they called it a beard card, but I guess it was to your ID card. But I never.
Maybe
had
there
one
was a
because-
card back in the day, but when I went through, it was just like
That's
flipping
true.
a switch. And then when I taught at BYU, it was different. But man, there's so much to talk about on this show.
I'm different.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm different.
I'm so different.
I want to see a Shannon and 2 Chainz mashup. Yeah. Anyway, so on the day of the reason they were celebrating was BYU a couple of years ago took out of the honor code there's no explanation as to why, but they took out of the honor code the idea that like holding hands with a member of the opposite sex or kissing someone of the opposite
Or
sex.
same sex, you mean?
Sorry, the same sex.
Yeah.
Was grounds for being kicked out of the university. Like,
Right.
no matter your standing as a student or whatever, you're
So
gone.
let's pause for a minute. Imagine that, because maybe there's people listening who've never understood BYU in the context of Mormon. So BYU,
I still don't understand BYU.
I went to BYU.
Um,
BYU is a school that's funded, subsidized by the Mormon Church.
Indeed.
And you
Tithing.
go under the auspices that you're going to adhere to these rules. But as any 20-something experiences, you're just learning who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Imagine going to school 2 years in, you're like, oh shit, I don't believe any of this. What do I do? Do I throw away all the credit, the work, the money, the investment that I've put into myself and say I'm out, or do I pretend and keep going? And a lot of people pretend. I mean, I didn't consider it, but I certainly had my doubts.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point we'll talk about our exit from the Mormon Church, each of us individually.
Definitely
but
should.
I had my doubts, but I was not willing to risk it because there was so much at stake. But for someone who does not identify with the cis-normative white view of the Mormon Church, that's a lot to say. I'm going to put on the line and I'm going to be who I'm going to be and fuck the church, because hey, you might have just wasted 2-3 years of your education and not be able to transfer your transcript even.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
here-
mean, that's what
It's
makes it
fucked
even
up.
that's what makes it even crazier too, is because like BYU will literally not send,
They will hold you
Yes,
hostage.
credit.
it's
yeah.
fucked up.
like even if you want to leave, of course people have left BYU and have gotten their credits transferred, blah 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 blah, but it's always a
But they do it
much harder
quietly.
process to
You've got
actually
to do
go.
it quietly. You've got to
Yep.
just play it, normal.
So
whatever.
imagine you're gay and you can't even express yourself. You can't even
Right.
hold hands with somebody you love. In fact, you
The
can't,
thing is-
not just on campus, but outside of campus. I've
So
heard of
at-
stories where people will get turned into the honor code office or whatever because they slept in the same hotel
That's
room.
because there is a
Somebody in the office.
culture of snitching.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I was going to
It's
say. They
encouraged.
weaponize
Yeah.
their entire student body,
And
essentially.
say it's your responsibility to report.
So this office that weaponizes the student body, and they do.
Back to you,
There's
Kevin.
zero doubt of that.
Back to you,
Once
Kevin.
they thank you very much. Once they removed that from the honor code, everyone was like, "Oh hell yeah!" At least the Mormon. This happens like a couple times a year. Certain
has-
people are like, "Oh, the Mormon Church is finally like
Chill, right?
40
now?
years after everyone else like figuring shit out, right?" But then the honor code office was like, so what happened is there was about a 2 to 3 week period where gay students were like taking a picture, literally like holding hands or doing like a peck kiss with a significant other who they've been secretly dating or whatever,
Yeah.
in front of the statue of Brigham Young, in front of the administration office, or wherever, in front of a
Right.
BYU Cougar statue, whatever. And then it came out, the honor code office said, just because we removed it doesn't mean that we will not kick your ass out of, and they didn't use that phrase, obviously, but we will kick your ass out of school if you post these things. And people were kicked out of school.
Yep.
Yep.
And many reports came out that people were told explicitly from members of the honor code office that it was okay to do. The reason those were out was it was okay to do those things. So what that tells me, as someone who not only went to school at BYU, but was also an employee of BYU for a significant period of time, is they did this in response to whatever they heard or thought or whatever. And then someone up the chain of command, probably in the top 15 members of the leadership of the church, was like, oh, fuck no. Oh, fuck no. My granddaughter told me she saw on Facebook that one of her classmates kissed a girl in front of a statue of Brigham Young. And they were just like, nope, it's all reversed.
Yeah.
So what this day was a celebration by the gay students at BYU to say, we are here, we're not going away, and we are proud of who we are. So the plan was, it was this simple, it was this basic. They just planned on wearing rainbow colored things to school.
And it wasn't,
that's it.
And it wasn't a protest. It wasn't
No
like that the sign or the flyer that was being handed out. It characterized, like on part of it, it was like LGBT activists are protesting the church's teachings. And it's that's not what people were doing. They were wearing fucking rainbow shirts, rainbow clothes to let other LGBTQ plus people know that they are welcome there, that they are safe there.
And supported,
and
and
loved.
loved, yes.
It wasn't a protest at all.
Yep.
It wasn't just queer students either. It was just
and allies,
students, any ally or gay student to be able to say, we're here, we're human beings, and you need to recognize us as such.
So I didn't realize this was going to happen, but then this week, again, Utah is such a special place. Utah. So
we love you.
It's such a bad
I'm pretty sure that's in the hymn book too. Isn't that in the hymn book, the church hymn book?
But there's a giant white letter Y, all caps, on the mountain in Provo. Okay, so if that sounds really weird to you, that's just Utah. There's a giant
Utah and Idaho have this thing where they like
away.
It's
Anywhere
like
in
what,
these letters,
a couple 100 feet tall or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's huge.
And it's up at
they're
like,
all over the mountains in
it's
Utah.
probably up at
So,
like 8,000 feet of
it's
elevation.
white.
It's
Homecoming BYU lights it up in white lights. I think
It's
occasionally they do blue, right, Kevin?
Is it white?
I'm pretty sure it's white lights.
I think
maybe
it's white.
blue.
Yeah. No, it's white.
It's white and delightsome for sure.
It's
And
definitely
then this week, some
Is
students.
it white, Spencer?
White and delightsome.
that's
So
right.
delightsome. White and delightsome. So some students, it never gets old, man. I'm just not gonna stop.
Oh,
So some students hiked, because you have to hike all the way up. It's a
It's like
It
a
sucks.
mile plus hike.
Fucking
and it's
sucks.
very
Like you go to
steep,
BYU and people are like, "Hey, let's hike the Y." I'm like, "Fuck you, no." So
I've never been up there.
good, you're not missing out much. So they hike up,
It's cement
and
and rocks.
they have
Yeah.
flashlights with them in, Roy G. Biv rainbow colors, and they illuminate the Y. And I wasn't aware this was happening until the next day, but
Right.
it was
Same.
beautiful. It was
Well,
beautiful.
It's
they
beautiful.
purposely so the Salt Lake Tribune, a local newspaper, ran an article where the organizer, a student, talked about it. They purposely kept it very under wraps because they were worried about Desnots and others.
What's Desnot?
The police.
Tell us about
We'll let
Desnots,
Will
yeah.
talk about the fascist Desnots in a little bit, but basically they didn't want anyone to stop them. Because what they were
Right.
doing was just an expression, and remember that word, a self-expression. Of
They
who
didn't paint
were.
this giant Y on the mountain.
There
They
was
had
no vandalism.
flashlights.
In
They
fact,
had fucking
No.
flashlights. That's
the
all it
color-
was.
colored
People-
flashlights.
Colored
And
flashlights.
people
Yeah.
called the police on them.
So,
my God.
so for
Police
1
got
hour,
pulled
Mormons are
Oh.
such alarmists.
Like
Jesus Christ.
imagine just having so much hate in your heart where you see a rainbow on the mountain and you call the fucking cops. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's interesting
assholes.
too because these two stories of the murder among the Mormons and the Y Mountain manifested
Overlaps,
himself in
yeah.
these like weird outrage moments for Mormonism. People
Right.
were
Yeah.
saying, "How can they allow this on Netflix?"
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
This actually happened.
How
The
dare
oppression.
Oh,
my
yeah.
Netflix and chill will never be the same.
They want to
newsflash,
be
this is
oppressed.
real.
They want to be oppressed so badly.
Exactly.
It's like they go on trek and they experience like the hardships that pioneers went through, and they want to have that same sort of oppression. What the fuck? Like, oh my god, it pisses me off so
Yeah.
much.
In my mind, because we were talking about Netflix, I thought you said they go on Shrek, and I was like, "What?
They go on Shrek.
They go
Pioneer
on
And they just
Shrek?
watch
Pioneer
all three
Shrek.
Shrek movies and they just
that
jack off to
would
it.
be
But
just as bad, honestly.
I don't think I could get off on Shrek. But
But
Difficult,
Cameron-
but you can
Cameron
probably
Diaz
pull
is
it
doable.
off.
so-
Doable.
you're right, Will. They want to be oppressed. Absolutely.
do.
They revel in it. They love it.
It's in their history,
People were
right?
calling
Like
the
so
fucking
they
cops.
Yeah.
So
all
yeah.
because some gay people wanted
turned
them
on
pressed.
flashlights.
They turned on flashlights. But luckily, from what I saw, luckily most people were wearing rainbow. They're super supportive. Like everybody in Utah Valley was super supportive of.
They were posting.
What was the
pictures
turnout
of-
for the rainbow or the umbrella crowd? I didn't really see
I heard
much
it
of
was
that
like
part.
a handful,
Yeah.
and there were more people carrying rainbow umbrellas
Yes.
to counteract it.
Nice.
Here's the beautiful thing, and it's not. It's completely shitty, 100% shitty. But I find it beautiful because whenever anyone shows their true colors, I actually like seeing that.
Yeah.
So my Facebook feed, my Instagram feed, my Twitter feed was full of images of this
The Y.
giant
From
Y on the mountain.
Everybody in the
lit up.
valley seeing it, they were so excited.
So many
Yeah.
Mormons, like, oh, this is beautiful. We love this. This is incredible. Like, congratulations. We love you, LGBTQ community,
Yeah.
whatever. But by morning, so this happened. So they had the flashlights on. 50 students hiked up and did this. It's incredible. We'll include in the show notes pictures.
Some pictures. Yeah.
And there's some great ones that show perspective, kind of to show the students there holding them. So by morning, so they held them from 8 p.m. till 9 p.m., 1 hour. They hiked down the mountain, and then the cops were there when they got to the bottom, but they didn't say a word to them because there was
They didn't do anything wrong.
a statement
yeah.
from the police that were like, flashlights aren't vandalism.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be upset about. But by morning, BYU had made the official BYU Twitter account made a statement that said, this was an unauthorized use of the Y on the mountain. And public self-expression.
All public expression or all public expression on BYU property has to have approval from
Pre-
BYU,
prior
right?
approval. Prior
Yeah.
approval. So I'm
All
like,
public
so
expression.
so if I wear my come and go shirt, which probably would be frowned upon
True.
on campus, but if I wear this, is this a public expression? If I wear a Nike t-shirt, is that a
That
public
gas
expression?
station has to know what they're doing.
They
right?
know.
I'm sure
They
they do.
know.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to Beaver, Utah, and you have the "I love Beaver" shirts.
Of
They
course.
know.
They know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shot
They
glasses.
know.
Okay.
No, what? So I am very political, obviously. As we
You
What?
are?
I
Wait,
know.
what?
Yeah. Shut up,
It's
Will.
such a big
no.
surprise. And it's interesting to kind of follow along the like different like gay activists in this country, and it really feels like the rest of this, like I know the LGBTQ plus community, they don't have the same rights yet. They're getting close. We're almost there. Like we got the Equality Act that the House passed, that's going to the Senate. Hopefully it passed the Senate. It's a great step in the right direction. But what a lot of people don't know outside of Utah is that Utah is still like 10, 20 years behind the rest of the country when it comes to
Which is
society's-
the opening line
Yeah, like
of Murder Among the Mormons.
Yeah.
Revelation takes time, Will.
oh my god. It
Relativity.
It's coming all the way
It's
from
the
it's not
Space
Close.
even it's
time,
not even
dude.
revelation though. It's society's view of gay people here in Utah.
I know it's backwards. It's so
Sucks.
fucking backwards.
It's horrible. It really is.
But that being said, I was really enthusiastic about the response to the BYU
Yes.
activity.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
the reality is, like, my children, my oldest is 20 years old and the rest are teens. My children, and I would say even your generation, well, I guess it's not that different, Will. But so your generation, Will, they don't give a fuck about that
Yeah.
stuff, right? They're like, you're gay, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. You're
You
transgender,
do, yeah.
okay, whatever. Like,
Be awesome. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
I think the younger generation, I think you're totally right. I think my generation, I
Even
think
a lot of the Mormon kids.
say that again.
I said even a lot of the Mormon
Even though
kids.
yes,
Yeah.
even a lot of the Mormon kids, because we've grown up watching the whole rest of the media outside of Utah, and we're on the internet, and being gay is not weird. It's not bad. It's normal. But here in Utah, the people who are older than I am, people who have kids like your guys' generations, it's not that way for them. And I know it's not that way. Like, I know the rest of the country also has its problems. I'm saying here in Utah, like, just as beautiful as what happened this week was, those students put their academic lives on the line. They did. And it's like, so like to the rest of the country, they might look at BYU and be like, oh wow, some like gay activists like wore some shirts. What's so cool about that? No, they actually put themselves at risk. They could be kicked out of BYU for supporting this sort of thing. So like I just want people to keep that in mind. Like here in Utah, the gay community is still fighting for our rights.
There's a reason. So, as a former BYU employee, I can speak very directly to this. And as someone, how can I say this without giving away too much, who is very close to someone who is faculty at BYU, and I have many, many, many close friends or former close friends who were faculty at BYU or are faculty at BYU. BYU will do not the faculty, but BYU, the organization,
Institution,
and
yeah.
the administration will do everything in their power to punish anyone who is homosexual.
Yeah.
Or, non-heteronormative, cisgender. Like, it doesn't even have to be about your sexuality. It can literally be about the way you dress. It can be about your fucking facial hair. It can be about your leg hair if you're a woman. It can be about wearing open-toed shoes, for God's sake. It's that like that's why like what people don't understand from the outside, I think, is like the things we're talking about here are so actually far above the low level of abuse and bias and um, threats that are thrown out towards BYU
Yeah.
students. Like, I don't even think some BYU students who aren't in the position of being, that happen to be heterosexual or cisgendered, I don't think they even comprehend that those are problems because
Yeah.
they're so fucking worried about, did I shave before I go
Right.
take my test? Like,
Yeah.
I might have a little stubble and wait in a line to take a test at the testing center and have to go back and fucking
Yeah.
shave and then wait in the line again. Like, it's such an oppressive place. But what I will say is the world has taken notice, and they have for a long time.
Yeah.
As someone who has been close to an academic at BYU, there is biases, rightfully so, by many academics in the world against scholars from BYU.
Yeah.
Even amazing scholars who are stars in their field, they're frowned upon and looked down upon as a BYU affiliated scholar.
I wish that would go even further. I really think like the NCAA, they shouldn't allow BYU to compete in
So
sports.
this was a thing. I was just going to say that back before 1978, in the kind of early to mid 70s, many universities, including a lot of the Pac-10, which is now the Pac-12, actually was like, no, we refuse to play any sport against BYU because they're racist. Like,
Yeah.
they're openly racist in the things that they do and say. And magically, we talked about, Kolob obviously must be a lot further away than Mars because it takes more than 10 minutes, like it does from Mars, for the information to get from Kolob to here. But it took a long period of time, even when many members and even leaders within the Mormon church were like, it seems like we're pretty racist, and I don't feel like I'm a racist person, so why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
I have a black friend. Why are we doing
Yeah.
this?
I have a black friend, but
Yep.
my second car is black. But sorry, bad joke. But no, what it took and what it will.
black?
Why wasn't the MR2 black? Anyway, sorry. If you haven't watched the show, go watch it and then
Please watch
re-listen to
Murder
this.
Among the
It'll be
Mormons.
funnier.
Yes.
Murder Among the Mormons. But what it will take now is for exactly what you're talking about, Will.
Yeah.
We need fucking conferences and universities, conferences meaning the sports side of it,
Right.
universities, organizations, academic institutions, and organizations to
Tighten the
stand up,
screws on them, right?
to stand up and say, fuck you, fuck you.
Yeah.
And we will not associate with you. We will not affiliate
And
with you.
then magically the revelation will come.
The revelation
Exactly.
will come.
Exactly.
The revelation
Yeah.
will come, and Kolob will
Speak
not have
yet
the-
again.
No,
Yeah.
here's why it's important. Basically what it would take is for allies in high up places, like the people who make the decisions at the NCAA and like all these different academic conferences and journals and stuff. Allies need to stop letting BYU be BYU. Don't let them compete on sports. Don't let them submit
Yeah.
scientific papers, because this is why it's important, is because it's not just the institution of BYU that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because BYU enforces these rules and enforces this oppression onto people making people just wanting to express themselves. They've created a I don't know how you describe it. They have created a reactionary group of people who we referred to earlier, like these DesNat people, it's not just them. There are other crazy Mormons who want to turn Utah and the rest of the United States, if they could, into a theocracy where the prophet is the person that runs the country and is the one that makes all the decisions, and everybody has to follow Mormon law. And
Joseph Smith tried that, right?
he did. And me and Kevin were talking earlier. Joseph Smith actually had a decent presidential platform. Little bit of credit to him.
A bottle of whiskey
pretty
in
bad.
every house.
Pretty bad. Yes.
No, I don't. That wasn't it.
No. I was like,
Anyways.
really?
A 14-year
So-
wife in every house. Was that
Ooh,
Ooh.
Christ almighty. Let's not
Jesus
do that. But
Christ.
anyway.
But it's important for allies in the higher up places that make these sorts of decisions to put the pressure on BYU, because right now there's groups that are forming that are militarizing, and they
Yep.
are the ones they're starting to target. All those people that were wearing rainbows, they started finding them on Twitter, and they started harassing them on Twitter. If you start interacting with DesNat people on Twitter, you will get a fucking army coming after you, and they
That's true.
will dox you, and they will put your address online. I've heard of stories where sometimes they'll show up to people's doors. It's scary as shit, and BYU is complicit, and that's why allies need to start putting pressure on BYU, because BYU loves this. BYU is the home of the DesNat people. It's horrible.
Let me tell you, as someone with significant experience, and Spencer, I'm assuming will back me up on this because you worked at BYU for a bit. There's so many like high quality scholars and individuals that work for BYU. So many, really. Um, it's mostly the administration. There are some scholars. Ralph Hancock, you can suck my dick, by the way. Fuck you, and come to my house if you want to and suck it. Anyway, yeah, we have a history if you can't tell. But,
All right.
Dude with the funniest
fuck
name.
you,
huh?
Ralph Hancock. Fuck you, Ralph Hancock.
Cousin
And
to
Anna-
John, by the way. John Hancock.
John.
Just kidding.
No, Herbie. No, to Herbie.
Herbie Hancock.
You can cut that if you want, Spencer, but
It's
fuck you,
fine.
Ralph
It's
Hancock. Fuck you. Anyway, mostly it's the administration, and mostly the administration is tied to the upper echelons of the leadership of the Mormon Church. Like
Exactly.
the scholars, the academics I know are believing-ish to not believing Mormons, if I'm being completely straight. There are completely atheist, but practicing Mormon.
But you have to play the part to get the benefits.
You have to
Right.
you have to play the part, and most importantly, you have to pay that 10% plus. And I say 10% plus because it's 10% plus the.
Do they pay you
generous
10%
fast stuff,
more to like make up the difference?
No.
Or
Fuck
like
no, they don't.
BYU
No,
giving out more money.
It's interesting. We've been joking about the time it takes for a signal to travel to Kolob and back, but what I found interesting with the Kevin and I were talking a little bit about the PR with BYU and how they handle situations like this. But one
Right.
thing struck me, and that is to say, one of the inefficiencies with the Mormon Church is that everyone has to kind of wait for the official line. And there's not enough time from the time that the Y was lit up to where the pressure was building for response. They didn't really have enough time to go through the whole chain and correlation and lawyers and all this stuff to then say, because really it should just be the prophet. I mean, think back to Brigham Young and Joseph Smith days. They'd say whatever the fuck they wanted because they were prophets on the earth. Now it goes through all this like cleansing and fine tuning and making sure, focus grouping. They don't have time for that shit. So poor BYU is left to their own devices. And so they say, well, anything that expresses an opinion on campus is not allowed. And it's like, what the fuck? This makes no sense. If I wear this shirt, if I wear color, whatever, like that makes no fucking sense because they have not had the time to get their story straight. That's the problem. Ties back into the Mark Hoffman thing. He didn't have time to get his story straight, get his shit together, so he killed people. Not saying the Mormon Church killed anyone this week, but
Well,
who
they
knows?
do.
This week.
They
do.
fucking kill people
Yeah.
every goddamn week.
That's
Okay,
true.
okay.
That is true.
I'm getting a little pissy.
I will
get
not
that,
I
but
will not say that on the podcast, but I will say
I'll say it.
they create conditions which have
Right.
led people to take their own lives, absolutely, or people to hate other humans enough to then result in the loss of life,
Right.
absolutely,
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yep.
because they have 100 billion reasons to bury us. So I gotta be voice of reason here
Like-
that we know
For
of.
real.
that we
Seriously.
know of. It's probably 300 billion at this point.
The church,
Don't kill us,
the
BYU.
Mormon Church could literally save so many people's lives if
It's
they
true,
wanted
it's
to.
true.
If they actually decided, because they claim that they're not like bigoted towards gay people. They claim it because they're like, well, it's
Yeah.
technically, as long as you don't have sex and get married, then technically you can be gay.
And you don't
'Cause-
touch each other.
right, like
Jesus
they
Christ.
if they actually truly were supportive of the LGBTQ plus community, they would actually be supportive and they would put themselves on the line. They would actually start allowing gay people to be married in the temple. They would actually save so many people's lives. It's kind of the same thing with the church and black people and the racism within the church. If the church actually cared to stop the racism within their ranks, they would do something about it. But they don't do anything about it. You still have all the same racist and sexist and homophobic little rumors that they tell each other in the individual wards, and the church doesn't do anything to tell them that what they're saying is wrong, right? Like they have, I don't know, I could go on. I've been drinking.
No, I agree with you, and I think one of the most unintentional. Well, I'm being very generous in my language here, but one of the most unintentionally insidious things that the church does is they pit this idea of your identity and your association with your family against what they tell you is your ultimate goal, which is to be in heaven with
Yeah.
God. And if your identity comes in
eternal
conflict,
family, yeah.
if your identity, your circumstances come in conflict with that goal, it's like, what do I do? Do I pretend to be something that I'm not, or try and quote unquote fix myself so I can get what I really want, which is heaven? This idea of whatever it is they teach, it's fucked up, especially
gold
when
rose,
they teach
Spencer,
that to
gold
younger
rose.
people, and that's where problems come from. Not and maybe that's being reductive or whatever, but I think it's a big problem is what I'm saying.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah, you're being fair, and Elliot agrees.
Elliot
Just-
Elliot needs some love.
How you
Let's
doing,
see
buddy?
Elliot.
Elliot is Will's
Pick up
cat, by the
Elliot.
way.
He needs loves.
Elliot
up the
needs some
baby.
love. But I will say you are being maybe generous and fair and smart
Too generous
about
yeah.
what you're saying. Well, it's smart. It's smart. But
True.
fuck Ralph Hancock.
Fuck you,
No,
Rob.
I just Googled this motherfucker. I hate his guts so much. I played racquetball with him once and I kicked his ass, by the way. But I'm just looking at his CV. 2016, was that right around when gay marriage was?
Yeah, it was
that would have been
2015, November
So
2015.
he has an article called "Love Wins," in quotes, charity loses. The counterfeiting of love, the convocations and coming out. He's a massive homophobe who's a political. I'm going to put it in quotes: a fucking Harvard-trained political scientist at BYU. Fuck Harvard. Fuck Ralph Hancock. Fuck you all. I have personal experience with this motherfucker, and he is all that is wrong with BYU. These are people who have been brainwashed and indoctrinated by the Mormon Church all of their life to hate. Let me repeat that: to fucking hate individuals who do not meet the standards, in quotes, that they've been brainwashed to believe are what God wants.
Right.
And those standards include the color of your skin, the people you like to have sex with, the way you like to dress, the way you vote, I can go on and on. The beverages you drink, and
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about fucking alcohol, which is making me say these things right
But
now.
but there's no
But I'm
demand
talking
for
about
Diet Coke on
caffeinated.
campus,
No.
There's
Kevin.
no demand. There's no demand. Don't make me call out Carrie Jenkins right now, because Carrie Jenkins can suck it too.
Kevin's on a roll
Um,
tonight.
Anyway, fuck BYU. I wrote it on. My parents gave me, after I left the Mormon church, they gave me for Christmas one year a fucking, what do you call that? Spatula.
Dildo?
Like,
I'm like, what are you doing? What is this motion?
no, like for my barbecue, flipper, like a flipper thing.
A
you know?
flipper.
A flipper,
A
yes.
flipper,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like spatula flipper thing. It's a big metal wooden
Metal
thing.
one for barbecuing. Yeah.
That's a BYU one. And I was like,
Oh.
fucking thanks. So I took a Sharpie the other day and wrote, so on the metal part, it's like the big Y logo.
Cut out
and
of a Y.
I took a
yeah.
Sharpie and just wrote fuck right above it. So fuck BYU.
All the kids are
Um,
like, is that Sharpie going in our burgers? Like, what?
Probably, but you won't die. Well, you will. Everyone
not
dies, but,
tonight. Yeah.
the cancer will come much later from that. But no, it survived. By the way, I washed it and everything,
true.
and it still says "fuck BYU" right across it. But that is my sentiment. To all, when I say that, I say that to the people who know I mean it to them, to the academics, to the employees, to the students at BYU who are decent human beings and don't buy into the bullshit things that create hate, that create division among families, like Spencer was just talking about. Leave BYU.
Yeah.
Don't support them.
Right.
Don't give them your money in any way, shape, or form.
Or your
Don't
talent, or your,
don't support.
Right.
I will admit right now, I grew up a BYU sports fan, and I try not to watch them, but sometimes I still do.
Mhm.
And I'm working on it, and I'll try harder. But I'm serious. Don't give them your support. It's an evil empire. I'm going to quote George H.W. Bush here. The axis of evil, the evil empire, maybe it's Ronald Reagan, I don't know, is BYU and the LDS Church. They are creating hate, division, and, in my opinion, creating situations that cause people to die.
Yep.
It's true.
Every
I
single
agree.
day.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the obsession with people's sexuality, how they identify, how they identify themselves. I just don't understand. Like, can we
I think it
just-
says more about the identity of the leaders than it does about the identity of the members, to be honest with you.
True.
So they're just trying to make sense of their own sexuality, probably, and
I
what they've
agree.
been taught. Like, and they're just perpetuating bad ideas, to be honest.
Because let's be real, like, even if you're completely straight, or I don't really know that I believe anyone's completely straight,
No.
but whatever. My kids will get a chuckle out of that. But even if you're completely straight, like, what you do in your bedroom with two completely consenting adults, like, doesn't fucking matter to anyone else.
And
I
doesn't
know,
hurt
they-
anybody
they-
else.
They paint this
If you're-
epic picture of God on this planet far away, and then like, but he cares if I masturbate or if I have sex with someone of the same gender. Like, what the fuck?
He's got some
So-
weird hangups, man.
Yeah,
So
that's
is he
really weird.
Is
That's-
he okay if I slap an ass? Is that okay?
Like,
I don't know.
If an ass
Like,
gets
I'm being
slapped in the
serious.
forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound?
I don't know. Mormons feel like they have like the inside track on so much shit, right? Like,
Ass slapping.
I think. I mean, this probably warrants a follow-up episode, but
agreed.
understanding that Mormonism, one of the core principles or ideas is that they are the arbiters of truth on earth for everyone. Similar to Scientology, where Scientology purports to, like, their core mission is to save humanity. Mormonism is
Right.
similar in that sense, in that they're trying to save humanity. And with that comes this understanding that Mormons have the truth. Everyone else is misguided. And that's what you're taught growing up. the truth is contained within the religion, and anything outside of that is not true. That
Right.
truth comes from a singular source. It's fucked up and
Yeah.
problematic in the sense that as we grow, as we change, as we live our lives, oftentimes you're going to butt up against these guardrails that are put in place by your parents, or maybe the missionaries brought you into the Mormon church, or friends, and you butt up against that, and then you have to make a choice. Okay, am I going to go against what I've been taught here and make a choice for myself, or am I going to suppress that part of myself in the case of gender or sexuality and how you identify, and conform to this system in the interest of preserving this narrative that they have the truth, we have
And
the mission.
and maybe that's what created Mark Hoffman
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
Because he is raised in this culture. He goes on the mission. He does all the things, right? But all the while he knows there's something wrong. There's something devious. There's something under, like he knows there's something under the surface that he needs to expose, right? He's raised in a very strict household. He,
House Hoffman.
a strict religion. House Hoffman as a on the, what is it, the signpost outside their front door or whatever. Like,
At the very
he
least,
was raised.
Mormonism is a factory for narcissism. And I say that
Oh,
not
absolutely.
lightly, in the sense that we
I
all
know.
we're all a part of it. This like whole mentality of like, I have the truth, you guys don't, we're better than, we're a peculiar people, like we are set apart and special, and all this stuff that you're fed over and over
Yeah.
and over.
Creates
Hard air
chosen
quotes on all that
generation.
stuff.
it creates like what I talk about it so often. It creates that in-out group mentality.
Yes, the superiority complex,
Yeah.
where it's like we are
It-
better.
It
Yeah.
teaches them how you are better. Like it primes their brain to work in such a way where they see things as like good or bad, and like in group and outside my group, like
Black and white thinking, in and out group,
yes,
absolutist. Yeah,
yes,
we're all
Yeah.
a part of it.
yeah.
It's true.
I think
Yeah.
we all still really at least I know I struggle with it, like the in-out group
It
type
takes time.
mentality. Yeah.
It takes time for sure.
Do you want to know what else we're all a part of?
What?
The fucking human race.
It's
Yes.
true.
And I don't know if you're watching the video, maybe you noticed that I almost started crying a minute ago. And I don't mean to get emotional. But I have family and friends, close family and friends, who the Mormon church have caused the ultimate pain for. Again, this podcast is about having fun and being funny and doing things, but this is serious shit,
Yeah.
people. The human race is made up of all kinds of people. And right here in this group of 4 fucking people who live in the same state, we're all vastly different. We're similar in a lot of ways in liking alcohol, obviously, but I will tell you right here and right now that the more of us that stand up for not just the Mormon church, not just BYU, but all forms of inequality, oppression, and judgment, unfair judgment upon people based on their humanity, can suck my dick.
That sounds
I think-
hot.
I had to go back to the funny part. The tears are real, but I had to go back
No,
to the funny
I
part.
appreciate it. I think last
Um,
time you said something along the lines of like, love is the answer. We need more love. We need more understanding. We need people to
Absolutely,
lean in.
yeah.
Let's get closer. Let's keep it real.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's the same thing that I was saying when we were talking about the episode when we were talking about like sex and stuff, where Like guys need to start standing up and to their friends. It's the
Right.
same thing. You got to stop being silent. You got to start talking about this shit, and you got to start pushing people to be better. If we're all just like, oh, that so and so is just being so and so, stop letting them be so and so. Help them become a better person. It'll never happen with a single conversation, ever. It'll never happen on Twitter. But if you continually create an environment which is more inclusive and more equitable, eventually it'll turn into that.
Yeah.
But it will never turn into that if everybody just stays quiet and complacent in the way things are now.
Right.
It'll never change if we don't start talking about this.
Right. And the Mormon church is founded on secrets and the keeping of secrets and
Snitching.
like the discovery of
Yeah.
secrets. And it's the exposure of secrets that will be our
Yep.
savior, right?
Yep.
Can't stop the internet. Well, this has been
Yeah,
awesome. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. We could talk about this for hours and hours more, I'm
Right.
sure.
It's true.
I'm gonna go
I have
watch.
so many things I want to say.
I know. I'm gonna go watch Murder Among the Mormons again, and then I have more
Again.
questions for Belinda because holy shit, you know people.
Oh, I have so many more things I wanted to say. I was like, oh my God, I have like this other like whole like diatribe that I want to go off on.
Belinda is the daughter of Utah pioneers. She's
This is
the
true.
OG.
It's
Yeah.
true.
You are an
I was a board
OG.
member on the Granddaughters of Brigham Young
Wow.
Council. Yeah, it's like a princess club that they have for lady descendants of Brigham Young. It's
The seed
some
of
shit,
Brigham.
you know.
Wow.
The
This-
seeds.
Brigham.
They thrive.
No,
Prolific.
no.
Do you have
like,
the
and-
secret recipe to the rolls?
The Lion
Yes,
House rolls.
obviously, yes. Like it comes out of my vagina. It
Oh
just like
my
it's
God.
like
The rolls or the recipe?
And
I
with
don't
that,
understand. Yeah.
be sure to subscribe. You can find
Subscribe.
us on Twitter.
Subscribe.
You can find us on Twitter at ThirstPod, on Instagram at Thirst Impressions Podcast, on Facebook as well, Thirst Impression Podcast, and thirstimpressions.show.
Yes.
That's the website.
what's up?
Where we post recipes and episodes and all that good stuff. Definitely share, spread the love. And
Just like Brother
you-
Brigham did.
if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, definitely leave a comment on the video or podcast. Hit us up. You can contact us and find us.
It's true.
Peace.
All right. Go make a white salamander, jack off, and enjoy your day. Thanks,
Night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Will's like, we started the episode with Will being like, I'm so fucking hungover still.
Man, I feel physically sick still.
You're young though, Will. Will, you're young. You'll be fine.
No, I got so fucked up last night.
Can we come be part of your dance party one time? Because like that sounds really fun. Oh, you didn't do your alcohol bits. Jesus. Everybody do it again.
I know, Jesus.
Elliot, shut the fuck up.
Everybody do their best Shannon Flynn impersonation. I'm Melinda. It's probably because he has like some malady, like it's like us being assholes.